Peyton, 44, and Sarah, 42, had built what looked like a perfect life from the outside in Santa Barbara, California. Their 15 years of marriage had seen success after success. Beautiful homes, luxury cars, vacations that drew admiration from their peers, and 3 wonderful children, Chase, 12, James, 10, and Stephanie, 8. Their wealth had secured them a place among the elite, allowing them to join exclusive clubs and be part of the social fabric that made others envious. They had loved each other well, treated their children with care, and surrounded themselves with the best life had to offer. Yet beneath this glittering exterior, there was a deep void, a rejection of anything beyond what their eyes could see and hands could hold. They believed that when their time came, life would simply end. Like the flick of a switch, existence would cease and there would be nothing more. Then came the diagnosis at University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center. Sarah's stage 4 cancer came as a shock, as most tragedies do. In a blink, everything that had once seemed so secure now felt fragile and threatened. Her life expectancy was given 4 months. Sarah was terrified. For the first time in her life, the thought of death felt unbearably real. The thought of leaving behind the life she had built, the family she loved, and the dreams she had yet to fulfill paralyzed her with fear. Peyton was equally shaken, unable to fathom a world where his best friend and partner no longer existed. The children, especially Chase and the twins, were thrown into confusion and denial. Death had been a distant concept, an abstract thought. Now it was knocking on their door. The months that followed were a painful descent into suffering. Sarah's once vibrant body was ravaged by cancer, and every passing day was filled with excruciating pain. The things she had once taken for granted, her home, her success, even her family's love, no longer provided any comfort. Her pain was so deep that as her body neared its end, she found herself pleading for it to stop, ready for life to end and to embrace the nothingness she had always believed was waiting for her. But life didn't end. The moment Sarah's physical body ceased to function, she found herself more alive than ever, but not in the way she had imagined. The darkness she expected to envelop her was instead a place of torment, unlike anything she had ever known. She had awoken, not to peaceful oblivion, but to the horrors of hell. She felt the scorching heat of flames that didn't consume but burned endlessly. She heard the wails and gnashing of teeth around her, cries from others who had also rejected the salvation that had been offered to them. She was alone, more alone than she had ever felt in her earthly life. The darkness was not merely the absence of light, it was the absence of God, a void that swallowed her soul in despair, knowing she had spent her entire life running from the truth. The love, the beauty, and the goodness she had once experienced in her life had been mere reflections of God's grace, though she had never acknowledged Him. Now, in hell, every bit of that grace was gone. She was separated from God forever. Sarah was filled with regret, a profound, agonizing sorrow that gnawed at her being. She had believed in the things of this world, lived for them, and rejected the truth of Jesus Christ, not understanding the eternal consequences of her choice. Now, as she existed in this place of torment, she wished with all her soul that she could go back and change it all. She remembered the words of Scripture that she had heard once but dismissed. The rich man also died and was buried. In Hades, where he was in torment, he looked up and saw Abraham far away. But there was no crossing the chasm now. There was no going back to warn Peyton, Chase, James, and Stephanie. The weight of her hopelessness crushed her. Days, months, years, time held no meaning here. The flames continued to burn, the darkness continued to suffocate, and the cries of the damned filled her ears. She tried to close her mind to it, but it was inescapable. She was fully aware that she had made the choice to be here. Her rejection of Christ had led her to this eternal torment, and now it was too late. She wept and screamed for a reprieve, but none came. There would be no rest, no peace, no hope, forever. But even in her agony, one thought consumed her: her family, Peyton, her beloved Peyton, the one she had shared everything with, her children, her precious children. They were still alive. They still had a chance to avoid this fate. Sarah thought of the rich man in Hades, how he had begged for Lazarus to go and warn his family, and she cried out to God with all her strength. If only I could warn them. If only I could tell them the truth. But her voice was swallowed by the fire and darkness. There was no answer. She was trapped in hell's eternal finality, knowing that her family still lived in the same blindness she once had. On Earth, Peyton and the children carried on, numb with grief after Sarah's passing. Peyton especially struggled to find meaning. He thought of his wife constantly, hoping she had found the peaceful end she had always believed in. But late at night, when the house was quiet and the loneliness crept in, he couldn't shake the gnawing question, what if she was wrong? Weeks after Sarah's funeral, a Christian neighbor who had always been kind to their family visited Peyton. He spoke to him gently about Jesus, about life beyond death, and about the hope that could still be found. Peyton, heartbroken and searching, began to listen. He began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, there was more than what they had always believed. The children too began to question. Their mother's suffering and the finality of her death haunted them. They had never talked about eternity, about what it meant to die, but now they couldn't stop thinking about it. In the quiet of their grief, a door was opening. A door Sarah would never walk through, but desperately wished her family would. It was the door to salvation, the gift that Jesus offered freely to all who would believe. The choice was still theirs to make. And in the darkness of hell, Sarah's silent prayer was that they would choose it.